Hello, good morning, and welcome to another episode of What Do We Do Now? A conversation about the live event industry. I'm joined again by my co-host Tony. Say good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Dave. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I was liking the sun this weekend, and you look like you've caught the sun this weekend as well. What would you get up to?
Absolutely, bike rides and barbecues. There was no holding me back. I was outside for quite a lot of the weekend. What news in the Tony household?
Nothing much really. My new puppy is growing every second, I swear. He got weighed earlier today and he's 1.5 kilograms more than he was last week. So generally just sort of trying to give him enough food and enough exercise. So yes, bit of a juggling act, but yeah, that's about new with me.
Brilliant. Today we are joined by AnnaMarie Trzebinski. Say hello, Anna.
Hi Dave. Hi Tony.
And how are you today, Anna?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Kind of same as you, really. Appreciating the weather, although the garden's gone a bit cloudy today. But nice to get the good weather back.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get your start in the live event industry?
So that was, I suppose, 10 to 15 years ago, looking at whether the beginning was the contracting stage or going full time. But I originally started by a really lucky and fluke introduction from one of my friends, my mum's friends, to RBS. And she recommended me on a character reference, and they interviewed me and they really liked my background. And so that's where I got my training coordinator position in the financial sector. And that's where I had the opportunity to get some brilliant training.
Very cool.
Amazing. And obviously we always ask, like, what has been your favourite job and why? Like, was it when your contract stage or was it in the full-time stage?
That is a huge question. Favourite job. I've had a good think about this one actually over the years, because it is a question that pops up, isn't it? Every single job that I've had, I'm really lucky enough to have had each one that's so varied and individual that really I would say there's no one favourite. It's elements of favourite responsibilities within each. So from my contracting days when I was working in the financial sector, Barclays, when I was there, they gave some brilliant training. I really lapped that up, signed up to everything possibly I could, whether that was compulsory or whether that was, extra in my own time. And then on the creative side from agency, because that's ultimately where my passions were for the creative responsibilities and being able to go that extra bit further within the event scope, was all about bringing ideas to the table and working with such different teams and different suppliers all the time. So lots of different elements to different roles really, but no one favourite job.
Oh, brilliant. So as you look back over the last kind of 16 weeks plus, or I don't know how many days it is now. Tony, you were keeping track of days. But yeah, as you look back,
I think it's something like 120.
120-ish? Okay, answer in the comments. Like when did you kind of realize, how did it happen for you in terms of when things were going to change? Like when did you realize that stuff was significantly changing?
To be honest with you, mine was a bit like whipping off a plaster. It was a bit of a shock, and it was in the moment that it happened was the time my kind of world unfortunately came down, and that's how I would describe it at the time. I unfortunately lost my job that I'd been in for a year, head of events, event director, and it all kind of changed for me overnight, and I was put on gardening leave. So it was in those moments that you go into crisis mode, and you switch to, right, what can I do for myself? And I'm quite good, having had a contracting background, where you might have a 3-month contract, or they think it's going to extend to 6, but then it doesn't. So I was quite good at picking myself up from those circumstances. And I immediately edited my CV. I looked at my LinkedIn profile to match it up to my CV, and then started calling recruiters. And I think it was maybe like a week in, and something just didn't quite feel right. And I was like, I'm back here doing this. I didn't think I'd be here. Am I happy? Is this my path? So I that's the point where I began to question what I really wanted from events at the moment. And here I am today.
Amazing. So I think everyone would probably like to know. So what was your answer? Do you want to stay in events, or is it? Did you have any other ideas, or what? Yeah, what was the outcome of your epiphany of going? Nope, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. So it was within the week on the Saturday. It was actually one of those epiphany moments. I think I had a really bad night's sleep. I woke up at like 4 a.m. and I was like, right, I want to start a LinkedIn group. There must be other people out there like me, struggling, mentally, also misdirection, where to go, what to do. So I started a group, tried to name it in the best way that I could to aim it in the direction that it was for, which was UK Event Professionals Redundancy Due to Corona. Big mouthful. But that was the first step. So I've started to make a really good network and talk to people and sign up to webinars and everything else. And I suppose my heart started telling me, you know what you're doing, you know what your passions are, you know where your talents lie. So start your own company, which is, I'm 34 now, going on 35. And I've wanted to do it since I was 28. And I suppose friends and family have said, Anna, why have you not started your own business yet? And I was like, it's not the right time, I haven't got ducks in a line, and you've got that big risk management to think about when you've got to pay the bills, and so now all of a sudden, I suppose everything had been taken out of my control in terms of risk. I was already in it, and so I thought, no, I'm just going to do it. And so I started my own company, and it launched in June on the 18th. So we're nearly at a month now, a couple of days away. And I did a virtual launch, and it's aimed at corporate events, technology, non-profit, pharmaceutical. We've got a really great range of industry experience. And yeah, I'm thriving on that at the moment, just getting everything going as quickly as possible.
Wow, what an absolutely incredible thing to start, and in such strange times. I mean, it's incredibly courageous to get started with something like that. Like you say, to take on that kind of risk. What are you finding different about the way that you're having to work? Like, are you having to sort of learn new skills or change your approach to things? Like, how have you found that?
So I suppose I love working with a team, and I have been really, really lucky, because when I started the LinkedIn group, I was lucky to meet Tony, and Eva and Amy, and they've been really great in kind of working with me on the virtual launch. It's kept us really busy with our minds and kind of developing skills in the virtual events world as well. We had brilliant feedback. So I suppose upskilling on the virtual side and looking at all directions and considerations you can think of, that's definitely a not necessarily a new way of working, but definitely a new consideration in the depth that we now have to kind of look at that. But also, I love working with a team. I'm very self-sufficient, so working from home and keeping myself going with my own goals and my passions, it's something that's come quite naturally to me. So not so much that, perhaps more working from home. When the girls go a bit quiet on me, sometimes I do get a bit like, oh, what are they up to? Where's my team? Because it's nice. You kind of take it a little bit for granted. Like when you do have people there talking to you, and then you're working from home, and then suddenly there's silence. It's like, oh, I just want to have a little chat with somebody. Or I think I found it a little bit difficult recently. My doggy unfortunately passed away a week and a half ago. So it's yeah.
It's terrible.
very quiet now, and it's really kind of, you know, surprised me how big a difference my house is now, working from home to when I had little Pepper with me, just keeping me company. So it is a struggle, I think, working from home by yourself, but it's just engaging and making sure that you're reaching out to people and you know, working and communicating with everybody.
So would you say that's probably the biggest sort of impact on, you know, your working life? Is it, you know, the working from home, the, you know, the lack of travel, because obviously being from an events background, you're used to those kind of parts. Like, what working practices have you had to adopt while in this sort of virtual world? Because I think speak for everyone, was saying, you know, the last 16 weeks has been an interesting time where we're all learning quite quickly.
Yeah.
You know, what kind of working practices have you had to adopt?
So for me, obviously, starting my own business, it's more on the managerial side. So as before, I was, you know, one part of the, don't know, I always do this. Where do I get my words from? One part of a slice of pizza. I feel like I'm the big pizza now, and I need to think about all areas. Really, food on the mind. Is it lunchtime yet?
Nearly.
Yeah, so I think it's the managerial side, having to think about everything from all angles, starting a new business. And that's not necessarily for me because I'm working from home or because COVID's hit, but more because of my situation and the circumstances that I've decided to go in a new direction. But it's all great. It's been going scarily quickly. I don't know about you guys.
Absolutely. So have you had any time to kind of rest and relax and look after yourself during this lockdown? Like, have you been able to make some time for yourself?
Tony can probably speak to me on that. When how do I answer that? I think on the weekend I really do try. If I've got a social engagement, I'll try and switch off, and, you know, especially with my husband, I'll, you know, make sure I'm having quality time with him and put my phone down or away, because otherwise I will just be looking on LinkedIn and checking my emails, and as everybody does, you know, and it's become slightly addictive whilst we've been in lockdown. But yeah, generally I'm quite good. On the weekends, I'll go for a nice walk. I try to do that in the week as well. I'll try and make sure that I've got some other interests going on. So I'm doing a bit of painting. Reading wise, I keep on meaning to read these books that I've bought. I've got about 10. But I'm yet to make way on one of them and on a chunkable size. So it's
and
definitely
are they all new
there.
business owner type books? Are they all kind of all the new skills that you're learning as a new business owner?
Some of them actually, emotional intelligence. You know, Duncan Bannatyne. I've got one of his old books that was passed down to me that I was told was good. So I've got a few there, and it's definitely all about kind of self-management and different ways, and looking at things in a different perspective. So yeah.
Okay. So is that kind of, you know, a recommendation you would give to other people in times of like upskilling, but also just versatiling a bit to kind of do colouring in or reading, to just sort of have that disconnect?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I suppose the way that I've managed myself is I do tend to live by my Outlook calendar, and, you know, I'll try and make sure I've just got that routine. Check my calendar at the beginning of the week. What have I got coming up? Have I accepted any clashes, which sometimes happens when you've got webinars with meetings you haven't realised. Make sure everything's organised. I know what I'm doing. And then I kind of look at, right, okay, so when am I going to take my free time? What am I going to do with it? This week I've got Thursday morning 8 a.m. A nice walk with a friend planned in Stoke Park in Guildford in Surrey. So we're going to go for a long hour dog walk, so before my day starts. So so it's just kind of making sure that you've got those things planned in to keep you active as well, rather than sitting at the laptop for 10 hours.
No, I think that's good, and I think everybody always wants to know, When do you reckon live events will come back? And do you reckon it will be hybrid? Or, yeah, I think it's the question on everybody's mind, so it's good to get your perspective. So do you think they'll come back at the end of this year? Or do you think next year? And to what degree? Hybrid, live events, or completely virtual?
So it's all very mixed. At the end of the day, I think the government need to give out some form of guidance and regulation. Until that happens, every accreditation, every venue perspective is second guessing, and it's to keep businesses afloat. It's to make sure they're ready, because no doubt when those regulations do come out, there'll be very little notice, a week, 2 weeks, and then we'll be good to go. And so it's all about planning at this stage. I think when we're actually ready to go, I think businesses, I've spoken with a lot of agency leaders, I've been in a lot of different forums, webinars, and I think the general consensus, even from corporate side as well as agency lead, is until next year, it's very risky at the moment to be planning anything bigger than a 50-person event, because we simply don't have that go ahead. So me personally, if I was speaking to a client, I would advise at the moment no earlier than March 2021. But with other options definitely available until then. So AMT Events has a corporate offering, and the way we're approaching that is dividing it into 4 pieces, which is you've got virtual event, so many ways to go on that in different platforms, different budgets. It's great to look at the brief, and then you can really begin to dissect that and recommend and build that proposal. Secondly would be hybrids, which everybody's very familiar with this word over the last couple of months, which would be a smaller live event, maybe for VIPs, to, again, the limits of what is currently allowed on the regulations, alongside a hybrid event, which would be virtual, and the general guests would be able to dial in. Then you've got live, which again, it would just be a very small event. Maybe it's for your top sales people, people that you really do essentially need to see. Create that day for them, make them feel safe. You do still need to look at all the regulations. And then finally, roadshows. So if you really do need to reach out, and we love events, that is the best form of communication. You get to see your clients, you get to see your employees, you get to really reiterate that message in person. So if you're looking to do that on mass scale, break that larger number down and look at what's possible up and down, say for instance the UK, and research those venues and coordinate it so it's flawless, so everybody gets a great experience, but ultimately you're keeping the risk low and the numbers low. So that's our current approach. We're just developing that at the moment so that we can really fully explain that in our communication and our marketing, to get the message out there that we are open for business.
And that's a good variation of different types of events, and that you're thinking of it, you're listening to the government, and I think, like everybody, you'll just update it as and when things can. So really interesting to get your point of view.
Yeah, really, really interesting just to hear your approach there. So thank you for sharing that with us. What is the best? This is a question I've kind of been finishing with absolutely everybody on. What was the best piece of work advice that you've ever been given, or do you have some kind of mantra or something that you live by?
Oh, now this is an interesting one. I nearly touched on it earlier, actually, but I have a little story if we've got time to share.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have, as everybody does, I've always had some inspirations and role models that you look up to, and one of mine throughout my entire life was Vivienne Westwood. I trained in fashion. I went to the University of Brighton. And I did fashion textiles with business studies. So that's where my design and my styling USP comes from. And when I was working in fashion styling and started doing a lot of production work for London Fashion Week, I was invited to a lot of graduate events. And I went to one in North London, and it was a very quiet exhibition, and I went round the building, went downstairs, and I was staring at this picture. And I looked next to me, and lo and behold, Vivienne Westwood is standing next to me. So
Wow.
I was a little bit starstruck, but I was like, I'm not going to let this opportunity pass. I just have to be a geek and say hello. So I said hello, and we started chatting. And shortly after, there was a bit of a kerfuffle with everybody in the exhibition, realizing it was Vivienne Westwood. So one of the exhibition curators came over to us and just said, "Oh, do you want us to move you into a side room?" So Vivienne said, "Yes, okay." And we went into a side room, and she said, "Oh, a couple of other people can come." And when we got into that room, she said, "Oh, if it's okay with you, you can all ask me one question each." So she came to me first, and I said, I thought about it, and I said, "Vivienne, can I just ask, what is your secret to success?" Because
Good question.
I was just like, and I think I was about 25 at this point. It was still a mystery to me. I was trying my best. I was trying, super hard, doing everything possible on my time and my connections at the time. And it did kind of slightly confuse me how you get there. And her response was, "All I can say to you, Anna, is the secret." And then she moved on to the next person. I was like, "What? Like, that's my answer?" So I went away from that a bit even more confused. And I did a lot of research, and I looked online. And this would have been, when was this? This would have been in 2011, maybe 2012. And I did a lot of research. I went online, I went to libraries, I went all over the place, could not find anything to do with The Secret in general, apart from, you can imagine what would come up, just so many different things. There was nothing particularly standing out to me. And then I think it was 2013, 14, so it would have been a year later. I walked down a high street, and in a shop window was a DVD called Secret. And I was like, what the hell? So I went in, I bought the DVD, I watched it, and essentially it is a piece of common sense thinking about being positive, about sharing your knowledge, about making yourself open to opportunities, not quite never saying no, because I think you've got to say no sometimes, but putting a positive energy out there, and then in return you will naturally come by what you deserve, and you'll attract the great energy and the great people. And since then, I've also looked back, I've done, and I think looking back, my answer to that, my own question, is there's no right way to success. There's no right answer. It's just about following your feet, keeping your all in, keep trying, keep your effort up. And if you do that, definitely you're going to land on your feet, because there's no other way to go. So, all these lines of success, they're never straightforward, but eventually it's going to end up at the right destination. You just have to keep yourself going. And if you're not going to do it for yourself, then unfortunately nobody else is. So that's my one piece of mantra and advice that I have carried with me now for nearly 10 years. And yeah.
Amazing.
Brilliant. No, it's brilliant. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. We've been doing a series of these for quite a while now. Tony asked me earlier, or Anna asked me earlier, how many we've done, and I have no idea. But we'd love to hear from more of you. We're keen to keep doing them, hearing from different views, different perspectives across the industry. So please get in touch with me or with Tony if you'd like to join one of these conversations. But thank you very much, Anna. That was a really interesting insight into what you've been up to. And thank you for sharing that with us. So goodbye for now.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Dave. Really enjoyed it.
You're very welcome. Bye, Tony. Thank you.
Bye.